Hi, my name is Walter Findysz. I'm the current CEO and president of Midwest Model Aircraft Company with the trade name K&S Precision Metals. Currently in my study of the word, I came across a word, a Greek word called archaeos. Archaeos means a pioneer, a leader, a founder. When I saw that word, one of the first persons I thought about was Wallace Simmers. Wally Simmers was a pioneer from the very beginning. Born in about 1919, I believe, in a small city, Lockport, Illinois. He lived with his mother. By the age of 20, Wally was well known through the area. He was great at flying wooden gliders. Wally had a passion, not only for gliders, but having fun and teaching others about the love of the hobby. What turned out to be a love and a hobby grew into a major business that is currently striving today, some 75 years later. What Wally realized when he was building these gliders and other Balsa airplanes was they were not just needed by him and the club members, they were needed throughout the neighborhood. Other clubs in the area, not only in Illinois, but also places like Indiana, Michigan, and Ohio. So Wally found something that he could do to make a living on, selling Balsa airplanes throughout the Midwest. So Wally put together a small team of builders, and together they opened up a company known as Midwest Product Supplies. They would package these airplanes, and Wally would drive all over the Midwest, dropping these airplanes off at local clubs until he made a habit of visiting hobby shops and getting his products into the hobby shops. The business started booming, and Wally's pioneership continued to grow. When the airplanes would come down and hit the ground, they'd be trashed because the wings would be busted. Wally realized that if he could place a piece of metal as the wing rod rather than a piece of balsa wood, the airplanes would not have to be trashed. So he contacted a local metal source, purchased a couple pieces of brass tubing and aluminum tubing, built himself his first wing rod for these balsa airplanes, and as he flew out in the field with his buddies, their planes would crash and have to be trashed. But Wally's kept on going. Naturally, his buddies asked him, could we have a couple pieces of those aluminum brass pieces? Wally would go into the trunk of his vehicle and sell them to his buddies. Realizing that the story got out about these wing rods, more and more people wanted to purchase this material from Wally. When Wally saw the need that his product had to be in different stores throughout the Midwest, he opened himself his own hobby shop. It was found on the north side on Halsted Avenue in Chicago, Illinois. In the front of the store, Wally had his Balsa airplanes, his metal center, and a lot of other hobby products. In the evening, Wally would go to the back of the building. There he set up his manufacture place, where he had a couple high school kids come during the day and cut material and box it and get his product out on the store shelves. Right next to the manufacturing part of the company, Wally had his bedroom. He would sleep there at night, eat there. He would live inside that hobby shop. That was his passion. A few years after he opened up the hobby shop, he hired my aunt and my mother as they were in high school. And they would go there daily, and they would collect orders and collect the money, and they worked there for a good 50 to 60 years later. Wally, the pioneer, had an idea. He put together a little display, different sizes of material he put in there from the local mill, and he contacted the local hobby shops that were already carrying his Balsa airplanes. He explained to them how he could use this rack in their stores as a source for all the other hobbyists out there that are using the Balsa airplanes and need a metal wing rod. K&S Metals was now formed. As people were going into these stores looking for plastic models, paint, glue, Balsa kits, they noticed this metal inside a rack. They didn't need it for their hobby. They could use this material for their own job. is they were working for the Air Force industry, the military, schooling, architects, drafters. They were buying this material, bringing it to their workforce and introducing it to their own companies. They would contact Wally and ask him for different sizes, different shapes, and the K&S Metal Center started to grow, not only throughout the Midwest, throughout the whole United States. He became a distributor of his own products, as well as picking up other products that were needed by hobbyists, and he was supplying hobby stores from California all the way to the East Coast. From there, Wally started getting phone calls. This was probably in the early 70s. They would say, I picked up a piece of this material from my hobby shop. It's 12 inches long. Could you cut it in half? Could you cut it in quarters? Could you give me 20, 30, 40 pieces? Wally the pioneer found something else that the world needs. Cut material, different lengths. So Wally started supplying all the OEM manufacturers throughout the country as they built different kits, as they used it for their different inventions, from medical supplies all the way to the movie industries, but had little pieces of K&S material throughout their product. Then I came along in the 1990s. When I graduated from college, I was asked to be part of the K&S team. Already my mom and aunt had been working for Wally almost 50 years. Wally found a fit for me. He purchased a company called Special Shapes. He bought a single building out in Romeoville, and I had the pleasure of being the only person in that building. Each day, Wally would report to the office. He'd walk me through the steps that made him grow the company, and he showed me the different avenues and techniques I could use to grow Special Shapes. As I continued to grow Special Shapes, I got to know Wally more and more. He was kind of like my own grandpa. He told me every aspect of the industry, from shipping to producing, from customer satisfaction to collecting money. I was able to take all this information and use it when I was asked to come to K&S in 1999. It was the year that Wally was killed in a car accident. 1999, I started full-time employment at K&S Precision Metals. At that time, we already were in the hobby industry, started in the hardware industry, and we were having OEM orders all throughout the world. And here we are today in 2025, some 75 years later. The vision that Wally saw in those open fields, flying his Balsa airplane, he probably never knew one day how important K&S materials is. I just hope that I could be a pioneer like Wally is, and some 70 years from now, my grandchildren and great-grandchildren could talk about still what Wallace Simmers did for this company. In honor of Wallace Simmers, this video is a glimpse of the pioneer that Wallace Simmers was.